Hello, and welcome to CJ Creates. I'm CJ, and I create stuff. Well, guys, it's been a week. A week where I posted 3 videos. That's right, I've been busy, and the art has been flowing. It's been awesome. Check out my last 2 videos if you haven't seen them already. They introduce my grass-type and fire-type Fakemon starters and do a lot of setup for this video. Today, I'm going to introduce the last of the 3, the water-type. And I'm going to warn you in advance. I know normally you expect a Pokemon video to be nerdy, but this is very nerdy. Like, we're going to talk about fossils and stuff, so I'm going to try and avoid geeking out too hard, but get ready to learn today because I love this stuff. Anyways, let's get started. In all 3 of the starter lines I've created, this one is the oldest, and I mean that in a couple ways. First of all, it's the one that got made first. Probably about 3 years ago now, I drew this up for the first time, and I've adapted it many times since then, but by that record, it is definitely the oldest of the 3 designs you've seen so far. But I also mean that it's the oldest in terms of the Pokemon fossil record. That's right. Let's do a quick deep dive into its inspiration, something called a Placoderm. Now, don't worry, for those of you unfamiliar with Latin, I can break it down for you. Placo means plates and derm means skin, making up this interesting new word I've just taught you. Plated skin is a great definition and an easy translation for this one, but it may not be immediately clear how I'm applying it to this Pokemon. I think this photo should definitely help. That's right, this Pokemon is based on a group of prehistoric fish known as placoderms, or belonging to the family Placodermi. Now that I've told you this, you're probably very confused. What you're watching me draw resembles a helmet with legs, if I'm being honest, and again, you are correct. You see, the defining characteristic of any placoderm are the giant mineralized plates that surround its head and other parts of its body. This Pokemon is going to be a water-rock type. It's a combination you don't see very often. Though they have been more common as of late, Dreadnought is the only water-rock type that isn't a fossil. Placoderms have giant plates on their heads that are made of minerals, usually calcium and phosphorus, and that seemed like the perfect combination to me. I should mention that Relicanth is not technically a fossil Pokemon, it's just canonically very old, and that too is based on an ancient fish. I bring this up because I wanted to highlight a main theme for this line of Pokemon, evolution. I realize that all Pokemon carry the theme of evolution, but I mean this in a much broader sense. Relicanth is based on a fossil Pokemon that we found in real life. The crazy thing is that we've also found that very same fish fossilized millions of years ago called that's a hard name. Coelacanth? I don't know, I'm going to put it on screen. You can look it up if you want. We've actually been finding them off the coast of New Zealand since 1938, and we've learned a lot about them and their cousins in the process. My Placoderm Pokemon doesn't have any real-life counterparts still alive today, but what if it did? What if over millions of years it evolved enough to be able to survive in the modern Pokemon era? Well, that should hopefully explain the thing I've been dodging this whole time, the legs. Fish don't have legs. Well, not in the sense that you would think. Some have pseudo-limbs that can walk or whatnot, but no true legs. Well, that's the first part of this little Placoderm's evolution, legs. Not only can it walk and breathe on land, but it's an efficient swimmer too. Meet Placamy, the hard-headed Pokemon. This Pokemon's surprising weight comes from the 2 large stony plates on its head. The gemstone in the center is made of quartz, a detail we'll get into a little later in this video as we discuss its evolutions. For now, you should know that while Placamy uses its head as a battering ram for attacking, it treasures this gemstone. Anytime it sees damage occur to it, it will eat rocks in an effort to regrow the crystal. In making the second stage, I wanted to talk about another component of this Pokemon's theme, crystals. Raw materials are found all over the earth, and many of them are found in the form of stone. To apply the idea of evolution to stone may seem a little strange at first, but hear me out. When you look at the chemical makeup of crystals, it's nothing too fancy. Quartz is actually just silicon and oxygen, 2 of the most common elements in nature. What does make them fancy is the fact that they have a repeated molecular alignment. That's how they can appear in such perfect shapes in nature. Rocks and stones and even metals usually don't have this kind of molecular perfection, but crystals do. That's how rocks evolve. These minerals change the way that they line up and create these beautiful crystals. So no longer is this Pokemon just a Placoderm that's evolved, but the nature of its mineralized armor is also evolving with it. Long story short, this Pokemon eats rocks in order to grow crystals out of its body. It grows them on its head and on its fins too. By now, you may be wondering why the theme of this Pokemon is evolution. Well, it's because Placoderms brought new and important adaptation to the world of animals, some of which have been carried to almost every aquatic and terrestrial animal on the planet. Placoderm lineage can be traced down to most vertebrate species on the Earth, but what did they give to us? Well, teeth for starters. They were one of the first species to adapt their front fishy scales into bony plates that are considered early teeth. Later species of Placoderm even had teeth in the way that you would imagine them today. Placoderms are also the father of the jaw. That's right, nothing on planet Earth before the Placoderm had a jaw. This jaw also had specific muscles designated to it and wasn't just a bony structure like you may expect. They also had some of the strongest bites ever recorded in the animal kingdom, crazy for being the first ones to even be able to bite. What did placoderms do with such a strong bite? Well, just about everything. In fact, if we look at fossil records, there are scratches on any kind of bone that are consistent with placoderm teeth. This means they ate anything and everything that they could fit in their mouths. Some species are even believed to have been cannibals. Specifically, Dunkleosteus, one of the largest placoderms, was known to have eaten not its own young, but young of other placoderms and other Dunkleosteus. That's not something I decided to include in this Pokemon. Cannibalism doesn't really sell very well, but I think it really highlights how it changed the game in hunting and being a predator. Aside from all of that, a cool aspect of placoderms that I wanted to maintain in this second stage was speed. By far and away the fastest thing in the sea, placoderms are believed to have reached incredible speeds. Not only were they incredibly heavy because of their giant bony plates, but they were incredibly fast because of their enormous muscles. For a Pokemon though, that's not exciting enough. That's why I decided to keep the high speeds but make it more up-tempo, introducing water jets on the back of the fins to make it faster. That's right, this Pokemon intakes water through its mouth and can pump it out through its fins to reach high speeds. On land, it could even fly for short bursts until it runs out of water. Meet Finistul, the Crystal Fin Pokemon. It uses the water jets on its fins to reach high speeds and attacks using the crystals on its stone armor. If the name isn't too obvious, it's named for its fin crystals. It may seem kind of basic, but for me, I think it's a perfect fit. It doesn't eat solely rocks, but they do make up a large part of its diet. The more rocks it eats, the bigger its crystal spikes grow. This can be deadly both on land and in water, though its crystals can break from time to time, requiring, however much time to regrow them. Okay, now for the finale. There's something I haven't really told you yet, because I wanted to discuss it in more detail with this last drawing. That would be what exactly my placoderm is evolving into. You see, technically, fish evolved into lizards and amphibians, but that's not very exciting in terms of Pokemon. We have so many frogs and lizards already, we don't need many more of them. We already have water starters that are lizard and a salamander. There just doesn't seem to be a niche to fill there. My water starter evolves instead into a sea monster. It's okay everyone, hold your applause, I already know. Making a pocket monster that is a sea monster is basically a stroke of genius. I'm being sarcastic. You could argue that any large sea-dwelling Pokemon is a sea monster, it's nothing new. That being said, I still think this is an original concept, and let me explain why for you. My sea monster isn't quite a sea serpent. It's not quite reptilian enough for that. Nor is it a kaiju, it doesn't possess the size, but it ties into sea monster lore in another important way. If you'll remember back to my previous videos, Vermaple is the guardian of the forests, and Charvelry is a guardian of the weak. I wanted all three of my starter Pokemon to embody this guardianship and have something they protect. Now ask yourself, what do sea monsters protect? I think it would be almost a cop-out to say that this Pokemon is the guardian of the sea. It's just too broad. Instead, the final evolution of this water starter is a guardian of treasures. In mythologies everywhere, there's often some kind of sea monster who guards and protects deep sea treasures. In my rendition of a sea monster, this Pokemon seeks out ruins, sunken ships, and anything shiny. This treasure is then hoarded in a sunken home and guarded fiercely. What actually pushed this Pokemon's evolution to the point where it would walk on land was its love of treasure. As long as something is close enough to the water, there's a good chance that this Pokemon will slink out, sniff it out, and steal it before you can even notice. It's a big hoarder of shiny things and collectibles. Anything it sees is valuable. I did want it to have some kind of majesty to it. I wanted it to look maybe not like royalty, but like it would fit in a place like Atlantis. You'll notice that the color its stones is this kind of lighter beige. I really wanted to embody what I consider to be a high quality sandstone, where it's still sandstone, but we see a lot of royalty and ancient civilizations that cared about status use this similar color of sandstone in their building. It's refined, it looks pretty, and I think it really brings the whole design together. It accents this dark blue so well, it accents the pink quartz crystals very well. It really makes it clear that this could belong in Atlantis. Another important aspect of this Pokemon is what's happening on its arms and feet. You'll notice that its stony armor has extended to those regions and that there are large holes in the center of its hands. This is the next step up from Finistel's design, and so it takes jet propulsion to the next level. To explain this though, I need to highlight something amazing about the biggest placoderm to have ever lived. Dunkleosteus, the one I talked about earlier, had an incredible jaw, but it also evolved something important that fish to this day still use to feed. The mouth of Dunkleosteus could open and close in 60 milliseconds and only needed 20 milli to open. This strange ability that only took 0.06 seconds created a new style of feeding previously unknown in the animal kingdom that we call suction feeding. This is where fish build up a pressure differential in their mouth before opening to create kind of like a big suction that only lasts for a few seconds. You can actually do this yourself if you try it. Just suck really hard on your mouth while it's closed and then open it suddenly. You can do it underwater, or you can just do it in the air and feel the air rush into your lungs. Upon opening, this sucks everything in front of its giant mouth into it, and then it snaps shut, trapping it inside and preparing it to be eaten whole. Again, I didn't want this Pokemon to be something that just out and devours everything in sight. Instead, I thought we should focus on the concept of suction. You may or may not know this already, but many sea serpents actually create whirlpools. So this Pokemon, instead of just using suction to eat things, uses its arms, legs, and even its mouth to create up to 5 whirlpools at a time. It can then release any water sucked in this way as high pressure streams from those same holes. Meet Vortexel, the whirlpool Pokemon. Over centuries of evolution, this Pokemon has developed limbs that allow it to walk on land. Each limb also contains the ability to generate its own whirlpool that is used to protect Vortexel's den. A lover of treasure, Vortexel will seek out sunken ships and ruins to hoard the treasure therein and protect it with all its might. It cares greatly for the crystals it grows on its body, seeing them as having a similar value to the treasures it amasses. I did end up removing the double tails in this design. I think it was something new I tried out and I just didn't love it. Let me know what you think though. 1 tail, 2 tails, 3 tails. How many do you think it should have? 1 tail better encompassed the placoderm body that I was trying to maintain, even if it was evolving. But if you think 2 tails is cooler, let me know. I'll try it out. This Pokemon was so fun to draw up digitally. I've had so many sketches of it over the last couple of years, and it really hasn't changed that much. At its base, it's always been a bony fish turned sea monster that has cool crystals and giant cannons on its arms. It may be my favorite of the 3, but now that I look at all of them side by side, it instantly becomes harder to pick. Which is your favorite? That's all I have for you today. I hope you've enjoyed the process of meeting my 3 starter Pokemon, the Guardian of the Forest, the Guardian of the Weak, and the Guardian of Treasures. How do you feel about these concepts? Are they original enough? Do the designs hold up? Of the 9 Pokemon you've seen, which is your favorite? For now, I hope you like what I've made, and I can't wait to see you create something of your own.